Hello, everyone. It's me, Monica P. Hall, aka Conduit of Healing, and it is time for our weekly messages for the collective. How you guys doing? Listen, Mercury's been in retrograde. We have been dealing with a lot of recent tragedies, and again, I know it's feeling so dark out there, but also I want you to consider that perhaps this isn't darkness that's happening, perhaps it's light. There's a lot of things that have been going on in the world that either we have been willfully ignorant to, or we have just been unaware of. And so I propose that this actually might be a time of great light. So much light coming in, so much light coming in from unexpected places, that what's happening is we are being made aware of the absolute flaws, broken, in some cases evil aspects of what we have been calling life. A lot of the whys of why is this happening? Why is the world like this? Why are we experiencing this? Those questions are being answered. And I know that the answers are sometimes rather grim, very disheartening, possibly discouraging, but we must persevere. We must continue. We cannot heal what we're unaware of. So I'm going to ask you to keep hanging in there, keep, up with your spiritual practice, continue to breathe. If you need to rest, if you need to kind of shut everything down, shut everyone out so that you can kind of hold on to yourself, so you can regain your center, so that you can clear energies for yourself, so that you can breathe, so that you can think, do what you need to do, okay? All right, great. We have a very interesting message today that I feel like I need to share with you. And I feel like this message overall is going to kind of lead into asking very important questions about yourself as an individual, about your relationships with others, and perhaps your relationship with the collective. Okay? But first, before we get started, if you have not already subscribed to this channel, make sure you're subscribing so you can get these messages, a notification to let you know the new message is up. Also, please take the time to like this message and share with others. And after this message, if you feel like you want to comment, please feel free to comment. All right, so let's get started. What is this week's message? Here's what the crew brought to my attention. Often, people imbalance the dance of love. They take it without giving or give it without taking. In both cases, it leaves them feeling half empty, unfulfilled, and with discontent. Reciprocity is necessary in any healthy relationship. And while it may be uncomfortable or difficult at first, it is a good practice. So the reason why this has come up is because, unfortunately, in today's world, the concept of taking has been glorified. It has been applauded. It has been celebrated. Meanwhile, we have people feeling increasingly empty. We have people increasingly unhappy. We have people feeling increasingly depressed or anxious. And the crew was saying to me that one of the major problems here is reciprocity. I am constantly talking to people about the concept of love, whether it be love, between them and a romantic partner, whether it be love, within oneself, or the ability to love oneself, whether it be family, whether it be a job, the concept of love. And so I'm sure you've been told, or I'm sure you've heard, that love is the strongest force in the universe. But there is an imbalance in terms of our relationship with love. So many people are so used to making themselves a sacrificial lamb, hoping that they can give so much love to others that someone will remember their existence. Someone will deem them important enough to give them love back. And because we have now become a species that takes more than it gives, a lot of people have anxiety and depression when it comes to the idea of love. A lot of people out there are feeling and thinking that they have to make self-sacrifices in order to be loved by someone else. Whether that message came from a parent, whether it came from a romantic partner, whether it came from even your job, we are constantly being asked to sacrifice ourselves to be rewarded with love. As if love is not the strongest force in the universe, but it's as if love is some sort of payment. We have somehow aligned love and money, or the concept of money. We do not offer love as easily as we request it. And so I find myself constantly talking to people who have been so miseducated about love that they are feeling that they have no value. They are feeling that they have no worth. They are feeling unlovable. They are feeling alone. They are feeling empty. They are waiting for someone or something to fill them with the purpose of their existence, rather than being clear enough, healthy enough, aware enough to understand love is why we're here. Love is why we were created. Love is actually part of our purpose for even existing. Okay, so let's talk about oneness, right? You hear that a lot. We're all one, we're all one, we're all one. And we all come from the same thing. So let's put that into context, shall we? If we all come from the same thing, and whatever this thing is, if you want to call it God, if you want to call it higher intelligence, it doesn't matter. The idea that one thing could express itself in so many ways, and in certain self-expression or creations, if you will, endow that aspect of itself with choice. That is not only the loving of a greater self, right? But also going one step further, giving that expression of itself choice. So when we think about the idea that we can choose to not only love one another, but we can choose to be loved by one another, it really, in a lot of ways, complicates accountability, but also it makes it very clear that whatever we are experiencing in our relationships, in our lives, we're actually choosing it. Now, why am I saying that? No one chooses to hurt, right? Right? No one chooses to be in a loveless relationship, right? No one chooses to be in a thankless friendship, right? Right? Or do you? Or are we? Let's flip the whole thing on its head. You're in love with someone who's not in love with you. You've done everything you possibly can to get this person to love you. They simply don't. You have turned yourself inside out. You have given up all the things that made you you. You have emptied yourself of all things that made you happy trying to get someone to love you, and they still don't. These are the kind of calls I get a lot of, by the way, as a psychic. What can I do to make this person love me? And I just feel like a lot of us don't want to accept the answer that us loving one another is an individual choice. It is not a right. It is not a reward. And it's not an expectation that we can have for one another. Just because you love them does not mean they owe you their love in return. Perhaps the love they have for you is only platonic. I love you as my friend. I do not love you as my lover. I do not love you as my spouse. I do not love you as my life partner. And yet, a lot of us cannot accept that. Our ego, and I'm going to say ego. I'm going to call it ego because here's the thing. If it's truly love, part of love is acceptance. Part of love is the spirit of namaste. I have to honor that you just said, you don't love me the way I love you. You don't want me the way that I want you. Does it hurt? Sure, it can hurt like hell. But it does not give you permission to disregard someone else's feelings simply because it does not feed your need for this person to feel for you the way in which you feel for them. How many of you are maintaining really bad relationships, toxic relationships, abusive relationships, because you cannot accept the fact that the person you want does not want you? They don't have to. There's nothing written anywhere that says you deserve the love of your desired person simply because you keep giving of yourself. Sometimes the most loving thing they can tell you is, I don't love you like that. That frees you, even if it hurts, from continuing to pour, yourself into something that's never going to bear the fruit that you're looking for. Let's talk about something else. Let's talk about friendships. So another thing that I feel like a lot of us are suffering from are one-way friendships. And I speak from experience in this because one of the things I honestly do almost pride myself on is I am very attentive in all of my relationships. Doesn't matter the relationship. I'm the person that you can call to talk about stuff. I'm the person that's going to tell you the truth regardless of whether or not you want to hear it. I'm the person that's going to check on you if I intuitively feel like something is off, something is wrong. I'm the person that's going to say, hey, what's up, if I haven't heard from you in a while. But this is the lesson that I have been learning. A lot of people take for granted those people that love them and care about them and care for them, assuming that they never have to actually check back in. They never actually have to be the listener as opposed to the speaker. They never have to even intuitively tune in to know when it's time to be the giver as opposed to the recipient. And what I've learned personally is that I can no longer maintain those relationships. And why? Why am I telling you this? Why am I sharing this? It's draining. It's draining. This is supposed to be reciprocal, right? On some day, my cup may runneth over and your cup may be empty. So I pour some of what's in my cup into your cup. Okay? But what does it look like when my cup is empty, your cup is running over, and you never think about that time where I gave to you, and it never occurs to you, oh, I should fill up her cup or give her half. Right? Because she did that for me, or she's done that for me so many times. So many of you would rather chase someone who's not giving you the time of day, who has no interest in, your well-being, rather than paying attention to the people who keep your soul fed, rather than paying attention to the people who keep you grounded, rather than paying attention to the people who keep you honest, who call you out on your shit, who have your best interests at heart even when you forget to. I don't know why it's so much more exciting to chase those who don't want anything to do with us than it is to reciprocate, appreciate, celebrate, and love those people who really are there grounding us, holding us down, keeping us on our path, keeping us honest, keeping us in a space of love rather than ego. I don't know. But again, I really feel like we have been taught from generation to generation to generation to just take. So it never really occurs to us that the people we're taking from also requires us to give back, even if it's a thank you. How many of you forget to say thank you to people? You know, they brought you food, they gave you a hug, they bought you a cup of coffee, they were available to listen to you vent. They told you the thing that you needed to hear. You didn't like it, you're mad, whatever, your ego's feeling some kind of way, but at the end of the day, it was the truth, and it was exactly what you needed to hear. Do you ever go back and say thank you to those people? Or do you continue to chase situations, people, goals, aspirations that absolutely were never yours to begin with, and therefore you must keep chasing, because when something doesn't belong to us, we can never quite grasp it. Reciprocity. It's so funny to me because we continue to cast our seeds into gardens that can never bear any fruit, rather than looking at where we are, seeing all the bounty all around us, and nurturing that garden. It's getting to the point where people are getting really lost. They never check in with themselves enough to identify really what's missing, what's going on. They don't have enough awareness to see all the blessings around them, all the people who care about them around them. All they see is some mirage that society has absolutely prospered from to sell us. A body that's never going to be yours, a lifestyle that's never going to be yours, and a reputation that's never going to be yours, a bank account that's never going to be yours. Not realizing that a lot of these things that look like, you know, abundance, and I'm going to call it fake abundance, are built on the losses of others. Do your research. How are these things happening for these people? You're going to find that a lot of these people who seem to be prosperous are standing on the backs, are standing on the losses, are standing on the pain, on the blood, on the dead bodies of hundreds, if not thousands, if not generations of people, to create this mirage of abundance. So let's bring this back into today, right? This idea that we should be in such fear for our safety, that we should be in such fear of one another, to the point that now we're in such fear that we have to slowly strip away individual freedoms to protect ourselves. How does the lack of freedom protect you? Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. So we keep feeding to a system that hollows us of our self-love. It hollows us of our desire to be free. It steals from us our identity and uniqueness. It just takes and it takes and it takes, to the point where some of us are in such pain and feeling such a sense of loss that we're just not sure what the point of it all is anymore. We have been taught to feed into a poisonous system, and it has now kind of spread itself into our everyday lives. I'm supposed to take, you're supposed to give. I'm supposed to give from somebody else to somebody else. I'm supposed to give to somebody else who actually doesn't want what I have to give in the first place. You see what I'm saying? So things like gratitude, things about like being grateful, we have whole holidays for that, right? Which is kind of sad. It's kind of sad that we require a specific time of year to show gratitude, as opposed to living in a space of gratitude every day, as opposed to living in a space of compassion every day, as opposed to living in a space of empathy every day, as opposed to understanding that love should be not only given, but love should be received. I deal with people that are so starved of receiving love, they can't even take compliments. Can't even take a compliment. Can't just say, oh, thank you. Because they're so used to being empty that even when someone tries to fill their cup, they feel guilty, they feel bad, they feel unworthy. Reciprocity isn't something that we can exist without, in terms of attempting to be a healthy individual, a healthy person, a healthy community, a healthy society, a healthy world. We cannot keep taking. Look what's happening to our actual planet. This whole idea of taking from the planet, taking its resource, taking, commoditizing, selling them to the highest bidder, has let us all for the worse. Breathing problems, drinking water problems, food shortages, which are all man-made, inability to have like healthy relationships or healthy people or healthy individuals, inability to really sustain health in general, right? We have health crises all over the place, whether it's mental, emotional, or medical health crisis all over the place. Because why? Because our species has decided it's more important to take than it is to receive or give. Just take. Just keep taking. It's not like, it'll kill us. Wait, except it is killing us, isn't it? Spiritually, emotionally, mentally, physically. Because we're not replacing or giving back what we're taking to the planet and to one another. So I invite you to stop participating in this really twisted, broken system. Stop giving to those who will not give back. And I understand that means that you will likely release yourself from relationships that you may be addicted to, people that you've been addicted to, people that are so used to taking from you that they're not angry that you are choosing yourself. They're angry that you're no longer giving to them and feeding them in whatever capacity they're used to being treated. Some people are used to having more than what they need, and they convince themselves that more than what they need is actually what they need. Not caring if you're starving mentally, emotionally, psychologically, or physically. But yeah, oh, thoughts and prayers. Thoughts and prayers. Oh, that's a shame. I am so sorry. I'm so sorry, but I'm not going to help you. That's the whole full sentence. I'm so sorry that's happening to you, but I'm not doing anything about it. I'm so sorry, but I'm not going to give some of what I have to basically fill that void in you. I'm so sorry, but yeah, it's a shame for you, but I'm going to continue my toxic habits. And so right now we are seeing what happens when we receive the dark, toxic, twisted energy that we put out in the world. And it is hard to look at. But these are all truths. Harsh truths, ugly truths, uncomfortable truths, painful truths. We have to stop feeding systems, people, government, religion, traditions that are deadly. Because when it comes back, no one wants this. So ask yourself, what are the toxic situations I'm finding myself in where I'm giving, and I'm not getting anything back? I have to call a thing. I have to love myself enough to detach from these toxic relationships and these toxic people. I have to do it. And I have to find my center again. And I have to ask myself, what is going to fill my cup of joy? What is going to fill my soul? How can I manifest this in relationships, in people, in my work, in my food, in my surroundings, in my environment, in my choices? How can I keep my soul fed? How can I consciously choose to be in situations where there's real reciprocity? So I know this is a very somber message, everyone, and, no apologies for it. Sometimes we have to be sobered by ugly truths to evaluate, how am I feeding these toxic ways and modes of living, of thinking, of being? And what can I do right now, one little thing, to start moving towards healing all of this shit? Think about it. So that's all I have for you today. Again, I know this was a heavy one. I know it's sobering, perhaps uncomfortable, perhaps difficult to think about, but we cannot keep talking about the world that we wish we could live in. We have to consciously and purposely begin taking action to create that world. Okay? So thanks so much for joining me. Once again, please make sure you're liking this video. And if you enjoyed this video, even if I made you feel a bit uncomfortable, make sure that you're subscribing and that you are liking and that you're sharing these messages with others. Okay? I am doing lots of breathing. I'm doing lots of meditating. I'm doing lots of self-reflecting because we are still in Mercury retrograde and it has really packed a wallop. Not just for you, for all of us in a lot of different ways. So make sure you're observing, and if you need to, make sure you're journaling. Make sure that you are writing stuff down that comes to you. Make sure you're checking on your people. Make sure you're checking on yourself. Okay? I will see you next week. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll talk to you soon. Mwah. Namaste.